Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece episode 975. So last time, Odin isn't Odin, unless it is boiled. We have seen the end, the death, the public execution of Kozuki Odin. Not only killed by the boiling oil that has already ravaged his body, but shot in the head as a last resort. His retainers escaped, and we know where this goes. This episode, I think, will be the end of the flashbacks. I'm pretty confident on that. Not 100%. There could be more, I guess, if they really stretch it out even further. But I'm thinking that this episode will be the last episode because it's like there's not much else to go through. The big thing is what happens next with the with the retainers up into the point where they're sent into the future. When everything happens and Odin Castle is taken and everything. It's like that's really all that's left. So, unless they're going to show us something that I'm not thinking of, but I'm excited to get back to the current day stuff because even though I've loved this flashback, it's like I do want to see what happens in the current day, you know. And I'm interested to see how the events of these flashbacks will continue to spell the future of Wano as we continue on. Because we've already seen, like, what these flashbacks have amounted to as of these first couple acts of Wano. And so I'm just wondering what more are they going to inform for us going forward. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to get to this. For those who don't watch my Shaman King videos or just haven't seen me mention this in another video or whatnot, I'll just say right here, if I'm not moving around as much or not as actively like moving my hands or whatnot, it's because the other day I got a really bad sunburn, like all over my shoulders, my upper arms, my back and everything. And while it's getting a little better, it's still very much in pain. And I'm recording this on Monday because I do my pre-recordings and everything. So it's like, yeah, when I'm recording this, it's still pretty heavily in pain because I only got the sunburn on Sunday. So, and it just makes it hard for me to move my arms in a lot of ways, especially my upper arms and my shoulders. If I move them in certain ways, it causes, like, you know, the skin to like stretch and compact and everything depending on my movements, which irritates the burn. So you might not see me moving around as much, or you might see me at some point during the reaction like wince or whatnot, or make like a pained noise. That's why. Just letting you all know. Hopefully this heals quickly so that it doesn't affect much more in the future. And I've had sunburns before, so it's probably not going to be that big of a deal for reactions. Like, I'll be able to handle it. But it is noticeably annoying. And it does hurt, so yeah. Either way, it's not as bad as an oil burn. I've had oil burns too, actually. They're not fun. This is something I can handle. But either way, I'm excited to see what this episode has in store. Like I said, I assume it's going to be the last episode of the flashbacks, but I mean, I don't know for sure. We'll have to see. But yeah, we're gonna get into this and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Last week, we saw the death of Odin, and this week it was Toki. After having been split up, the remaining members of the Akazaya 9 were sent to the future by Toki. Those who stayed behind stayed behind. Hiyori was being protected by Kawamatsu, and Toki rode off on a horse, acting as a decoy and sending one last message to the people. Going out as much of a hero as her husband. Odin may have been more active in his goals to free and open up Wano. But if you don't think Toki was instrumental in all of that, you haven't been paying attention. Toki changed Odin. Him falling in love with her, having 2 beautiful children with her, changed him and allowed him to become just something special. You kind of hear a lot of people joke about this idea that behind every great man, there's an even greater woman. And some people have gone to update that for the times, saying beside every great man, there's an even greater woman. And I think that updated version is personified by Odin and Toki. Because Odin would not have become the hero, the legend he is, without the likes of Toki. And not just to even her, but without everyone who had been there for him. This isn't just Odin's story. These flashbacks are not just Odin's story, Odin's backstory, Odin's legacy. They're the story and legacy of Toki, of the Akazaya 9, of the Whitebeard crew, of the Roger crew, of everyone who made this just hope for a better future for Wano a possibility. Without all of them, this would have never come to pass. And it's wild to think about. I talked about it before, but in like last week's episode and other episodes and all, how Odin went from this troublemaking punk to one of the most legendary figures in this series. All because of the people he met along the way, the friends he made, the family he found. They changed him. And because of that, they allowed for the current day situation to be happening. Because think about it. Luffy wouldn't have as much invested in Wano if he hadn't met Kinemon when he did, if he hadn't met Momonosuke, if he hadn't met Cat Viper and Dogstorm. Through all these people he met who were a part of Odin's legacy, he became invested in Wano and vowed to help them, creating an entire alliance just to do so. And it's all because of these people who impacted Odin's life enough to make a difference. And the one who through it all stood right beside him was Toki. Like I said, Toki wasn't a super active character in this. She had a more reserved role comparatively. Odin was a lot more of the head into battle, fight for our freedom kind of guy, while Toki was the support. But a lot of people still don't understand how important that support is. A support role is just absolutely necessary. And Toki was that necessity for him. This episode went kind of how I expected. We knew not all of the Yakuzaya 9 were present when they were sent into the future, because we know some of them stayed behind. We know Ashura Doji stayed behind, Cat Viper and Dogstorm, and we could kind of assume Denjiro did, even though like we don't actually know for sure because we have no idea where he is. But it's like we get that confirmation here. And we knew Kawamatsu did too, as well. And it's sad to see them having split up and some of them going to the future and some not, but we know where it's all come and that they've come back together. Again, except for Denjiro. And like I said, this went almost exactly how I imagined. The only surprise for me was Kaido. Kaido actually going in there and almost killing Momonosuke himself, but then just kind of getting bored because Momonosuke wasn't as strong at that moment as his father. And it's like, this is a fucking, like, 12-year-old kid. He's not going to be as strong as his father. I don't even think he's that old, actually. How old is Momo? I think he might be 10. 10 to 12, something like that, maybe. But it's like, he's not going to be as strong as his father in either spirit or physicality. He's not going to have the willpower that his father had. It's just not how it is. A situation like that is going to scare the shit out of him. He's a kid. I mean, clearly Kaido doesn't care or understand that because it's fucking Kaido, but still. It's a good thing he didn't kill him right there, though, honestly. Be a very different story if he had. There's not a lot to say with this because, again, we knew about these events already. We've talked about them already. There's not really much to bring up here. It's just the big thing to take away from this episode is Toki, is how willingly and lovingly and strongly she stood beside her husband up until the end. And it's very cliche. I'm not even going to pretend otherwise. It's very cliche. But you almost kind of feel like in the end there, when she was delivering that message, that warning, you almost kind of feel like Odin was standing right beside her, proud of his wife. It's very, very cliche. But it's like it's just what comes to mind. It's just what I think about. And so now either we're done with the flashbacks or there's probably going to be maybe one more episode maybe to show what happened after they were first sent to the future and everything. Maybe show what happened to those who were left behind. That's the only thing I can think of that would need to be discussed still. Everything else is like we already know about, we've already seen. There's not much else to go on. So that's the only thing I could think of. Show the Akazaya 9 and Momo what happened to them right after being sent to the future 20 years, and then show what happened to those who were left behind and everything right off the bat. Because we know a little bit about some of it. Like, we know that Ashura Doji eventually went back to the bandits. We know that, we know kind of what happened with Kawamatsu and Hiyori up to a point. But it's like, there's still so much I feel that we could find out about. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. And I just want to get back to the main story, damn it. I love these flashbacks so fucking much. I mean, I cried with Togi's death here. But it's like, I very much want to get back to the main story, to the current day events. I'm just wondering how much further Act 3 is going to be. Because I think it's still going on in the manga, too. So it's like Act 3, I think, is possibly going to be sorted out into maybe two separate parts. Like this flashback and then maybe the attack. If that still ends up going down. I don't know. I don't know what's happening in the manga purposefully because I avoid spoilers, but I don't know. And don't tell me. Do not tell me what's happening in the manga currently. Do not tell me anything that would be a spoiler for this. Um, I'm very, very hopeful for the future of this arc. And like I said in the reaction, the day when it shows Momo take the throne as Shogun of Wano and officially declare the borders open and the land of Wano free from the tyranny of Orochi and Kaido. That's the day I'm looking forward to. That's going to be just without question. Just the biggest moment of this arc. And I'm fully convinced it's going to happen, too. Like, I am 100% convinced that we are going to see, by the end of this arc, Momonosuke take the throne as Shogun. Either that or the only other option I see is him dissolving the title and doing something different. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe turning it into a democratic process, kind of like how Legend of Korra changed the kingdoms and stuff and did, or no, they changed from a specific set council to elected officials in season 2, I believe it was when that first came up. I think, yeah, it would have been season 2. Because that's when President Raiko was introduced. Um, either way, either way, Um, I, I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm super excited, as much as I always am for this series. Um, but tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of One Piece, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.